Okay, Kian here, and this is going to be my video for explaining how to edit the text in Megaman Legends. If I sound like I'm whispering, I am. It is almost 1 in the morning right now, and everyone's asleep. This is the only chance I have to record, so it is what it is. Okay, so like most of my tools, I'm a filthy casual, so I write in JavaScript. The tool is live at megamanlegends.gitlab.io slash ml1-psx slash message slash 01. And this is actually a lie. So originally when I started looking at messages, I tried to think of what was the best way to kind of design is generally a huge issue when it comes to making tools, especially for making modding tools. For making exporters and viewers, it's you read the data and you display it. So there's not too much thought that goes into a lot of kind of minute details. It's mostly just interpreting the data and then displaying the data as well as you can interpret it. The reason I kind of try to stray away from modding tools and modding in general is because you take that equation and you go from just reading the data and displaying it to editing, tracking it, and then writing it back into the game. So it's 4 or 5 more steps in addition to just displaying and exporting it. So that's you have to decode, edit, delete, restore, re-encode, and there's just a lot more steps that need to be done in general, and kind of makes it a little bit more time consuming. And so one of the issues with that is, again, how do you design really come to into that equation, because how do you make tools that are easy and intuitive to use? How do you make tools that are able to work with the file formats and not against them? So originally what I thought of was doing something like this, and having preview text boxes, having some kind of markup or editing, and then having some kind of flags in there to be able to change the color. What happened with this was there's just a lot more codes and things that I could have anticipated. Like just in message one, there's a ton of tiny things. 8B, 8B, 8B. There's so many codes in the game that I would have to go through and go through each stage, find the text box where that gets called, exit it, and then just kind of start messing around in a hex editor, messing around with the state to see what exactly all these codes do. And I guess eventually you kind of get to a point where you kind of narrow it down or have a good model of what works. But I don't have that kind of time to devote to modding tools, so I kind of wanted to make it shorter. So the next day, my approach for how to make that shorter was to do something like this and potentially have a hex editor combined with a text editor. So you could kind of see you could either get the instructions of, you could either see the hex, or you could see the text, and you could go through and just change the text that you need and leave everything else completely unchanged. And then if you wanted to, you could go back and change the hex. If you wanted to change an item or something like that, you could kind of go back and do it. This again would kind of end up being too time consuming. As you can see, even just minor things, you can see it doesn't end on the same row right here. So getting the characters to wrap around at the right number of characters, just tiny things add up. How to highlight, how to edit. There's just, if you wanted to highlight this and have it highlight there, you're getting to the point where you're dealing with the complexities of implementing everything you need to do for a hex editor in the game. So I want something I could do in 2 days and not 2 weeks, two weeks at minimum. So this is what I came up with, and let's go ahead to 4 because I think I implemented a few quality of life implementations. So here is what the tool ended up being, and so what you can do is you, like most of my other tools, you browse, you select all the files in the game, and it'll give you left window and right window, and you can kind of change here. So what's going on here is I keep the message files in the format that the game uses for the entire time. So what's happening here is this is all numbers. These diamonds are just junk I put there as placeholders to act as placeholders for characters for a number. So this could be like 0x92, 0x91, 0x93 or something like that. They could, they're specific numbers. And so so rather than decoding completely, changing the text and then encoding completely, what I do is this is all just numbers. And so when you go through and add in reverb maybe, what happened right now is what I went through is I went through and cut out the numbers for around for each character. And then when you type in maybe, it goes through and encodes MAYBE. It encodes everything kind of on demand or while you're doing it. So if you go through and delete any of these things that need to be there, there's no way to put them back here. So just kind of be careful when you're editing to make sure you only change text and things that you know you need to change, because there's kind of no way to go back and edit around it. And what you can kind of do is you can look at it, and since all the text is encoded, if you click somewhere else and then click back and it's still the same, then that means that it's been encoded and decoded correctly. If you need to go back, if you broke something and need to go back, I made a quick restore button, and then that will reset it back to the original game data, and you can do it. So the way this works, instructions, we'll change instructions to pew, pew, pew. Use the square button to fire. Kill things. And then press some button to automatically log on to the nearest target. So we'll just go ahead and message 1. We'll go ahead and just some button. Is that what it was supposed to be? Log onto the nearest target. Well, we'll see how it works. To kill. Okay, I think we're good. The other thing I need to point out is it's kind of finicky for changing multiple characters at a time. I was really trying to be lazy and scum my way through this one and just kind of implement it as fast as possible. And so sometimes it'll recognize strings, or sometimes it'll get it right. Sometimes it'll leave out a character too. The easiest thing you can do is changing one character at a time when possible. But I did try to implement some selecting and cut. Pew, pew, pew. I did try to implement some batch functions to try and implement cut and paste. If you have any issues with that, like it's cutting off the first character or it's cutting off the last character or something like that, if you kind of recognize the pattern of what I messed up, let me know on the forums, and I can maybe troubleshoot a little bit. Now once you're done with this, so we'll go ahead and refresh it, all the messages that are dirty will be done in green, and since all of these have to be re-encoded for each message, I only change this one to green. Okay, use the square button to kill things, press some button to make a leg onto your target. Okay, once we're done here, we can go ahead and export, and that will give us a dash message.json file. So we'll go ahead and save that. And I'll go ahead and it's in documents, and then I have MML ROMs, and then I have a folder set up for message. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and move from downloads I want the dash message dot JSON, and I want to move that here. Okay, and then from there we want to grab the script, and the script is replace.js, and it's a pretty short script, so we want to go ahead and just download raw, and we can go ahead and do that, save that here, and kind of do the same thing. This is going to be replace message, and move that here. All right, and so now we want to call node replace message. Megaman Legends 1, and then I think it's the dash JSON file, and then I think we can do out.image. I think that's the order. Okay, yeah, that's it. And then there we go. So it should say that it found this and replaced it in the game. So now that we have that, we can go ahead and run our game. Documents, MML realms, message, out.image. I'll go ahead and run the ROM file. Just give it a second. Oh crap. Oh no. Keyword. Oh crap. Alright. Change. I think start was V. Select this B. Everything else, I think the default values for PCSXR are pretty terrible, but I've kind of gotten used to them. So, okay, there we go. We've got our start button now. Alright, start button, new game. We're getting there. Skip this. And then now we come up to everyone's favorite text. Wait a second, there should be a reverb bot around there somewhere. Can you see it? It looks like a small one. You should be able to take it down with your buster gun. Okay, so we didn't change any of this, but we do have S pew 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 pew. Use the square button to kill things. Press some button to automatically lock onto the nearest target. So, read instructions again? No. So, okay, here we are. We were able to change the text in game through our crappy little tool. So this is a quick explanation for how the message editor works, how to patch the game, and then how to actually run it. So the same thing actually kind of works. This is specifically targeted towards Zinus. Is that I added RUS. I added the game in Russian, so you can. This has the Russian character set added, and you should be able to add in Russian characters theoretically, and then patch it that way, and let me know if it works. You'll have to separately patch the font file first to the ROM, and then the output from that patch, you'll need to go ahead and overwrite the text from there. I might, if you need any help or if you need further instructions, I can probably write it in on the forum, but this is just kind of a quick overview for how to use the tool and how to patch the files so that, because just this is kind of cryptic. So that's it for this video, and I guess I'll see you guys